Hey guys, some of you might have seen a video we made a few years ago talking about remote controlled aircraft and drones and the like in Japan, and recommending that people not try to use them in Japan for fear of getting into trouble. So this week we saw the results of getting into trouble. There was a young foreigner who was in Shibuya, which is the middle of Tokyo, one of the busiest parts of Tokyo. The busy pedestrian crossing there often features in the media. It's one of the famous landmarks in Tokyo, and he decided he'd fly his little remote control aircraft over the top of that crossing and video it. So pretty outrageous. Obviously, pretty much any major city in the world these days flying remote control aircraft over the middle of the city is not going to be a good idea, you would think, but definitely not in Tokyo. There is a federal law in Japan that covers these things and says that you're not supposed to fly them within 30 meters of people, buildings and vehicles, and a whole heap of other things. But they're not supposed to fly them in built up areas, you're not supposed to fly them over events, you're not supposed to fly them over parks, and pretty much everywhere, as we said in the previous video. And then that's the federal laws, and then the municipal laws for the different cities and the different towns. Most of them have laws that cover the flying of these things over different parts of the towns, or over the towns in general, just totally banning them usually. And then often you'll find when you do go to places that might be a bit isolated, some little castle in the middle of nowhere or something like that, you'll often see signs up saying don't use drones, or don't use remote control helicopters, and don't use remote control aircraft here. So basically, as we said in that video years ago, you're better off just not even trying. You're best off not bringing them. You can actually buy them. We have seen them for sale in Japan, but unless you get permission from a private landowner to fly over the top of private land that's not within 100 or within 30 meters of people, buildings or vehicles, you might be able to get permission to do it over some rice fields somewhere, but that's about it. And because that rule means that we're not allowed to fly within 30 metres of people, buildings and vehicles. As soon as a policeman walks up and stands beside you, you've broken the law, haven't you? Because you're flying it within 30 metres of a person. So it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Apparently this guy got spoken to by the police, and obviously the cops in Shibuya must be pretty good about foreigners and tourists and so on. And there was no talk of him getting into any major trouble, but we would imagine that you'd be running a risk. The law says you can cop a $5,000 fine. And the other thing is too, of course, that under the immigration laws, if you visit Japan, you're subject to Japanese laws, and if you break any of them, you can be deported. So if they really wanted to, if you did something really stupid, they'd be likely to fine you $5,000 and then deport you. It's just not worth it. The law says no, but also Japanese people don't like them. They think that they disturb the peace. They think that they're dangerous. Flying them over people is dangerous. Abenai. People worry about getting hit in the head. And then Japanese people are often camera shy and don't want to be filmed by your drone flying over their head. So you're better off just not doing it. We might just tack on the end of this video too. Same for selfie sticks. There's no federal laws about selfie sticks, but we're seeing a lot of signs around the place. Please don't use selfie sticks. They're not popular. Anyway, there was don't use drones in Japan. More videos coming soon.